Weight Watchers has a new weight loss app for kids, and honestly, it's worse than I could ever imagine. So the big news in the nutrition and health world for the past couple weeks now has been a new weight loss app for children called Kurbo, brought to you by WW, formerly known as Weight Watchers. And this is a topic that I really wanted to talk about with you because it's been on my mind, it's got me fired up. I really wanted to get this video done sooner, but between work and being sick and all kinds of things, it's not happening till now, but we're here and that's what's important. But this is a giant topic with so many layers to it. There's so much stuff going on here, and I know there's no way I can cover every single bit of it in one video. So in addition to watching the video, I will have some resources, articles, podcasts from other people linked below so that you can see what other health professionals are saying about it, other just people who have had some experiences that inform their thoughts about this app, because there really is a lot to discuss, and I want you to be able to dig into it as much as you want and really get a full picture. But before we get into everything, let's do a quick introduction. My name is Sarah and I'm a registered dietitian, and this whole channel is about food and nutrition stuff, and a lot of the work that I do is with kids and families. So I do a lot of work with children, doing cooking classes and teaching them about food, but also helping parents and families, teaching them about how to talk to their kids about food, how to introduce foods to their child, and how to build an overall healthy food environment. So this app and this issue hits especially close, it's especially close to home for me because this is the work that I do day in and day out. And today the main things we're going to talk about are what the app is, kind of get everyone up to speed so we're all on the same page, some of the problems with the app, and then I want to talk about things to do instead, because I know for a lot of parents and caregivers and just adults that interact with children, you may have concerns about your child's health or their eating habits, or you might have concerns about their weight, and those are real concerns that you have. And so I want to talk about things that you can do other than Kurbo, because I've seen this idea floating around in the comment sections of articles and people talking on Twitter that, you know, if you're concerned about children's health, it's either do Kurbo or do nothing at all, or if you say that Kurbo has problems, then you're saying the alternative is not caring about the health of children, and that's not the case at all. There are real things that you can do that do not involve the Kurbo app to help create healthy eating habits and a healthy food environment. So we're going to talk about some of those too. So first, quick overview of the app. It is a weight loss app for children promoted by Weight Watchers, now WW. And the app is not something that they created from the ground up. It's actually something they acquired. So someone else had created this app in this basic format, and then they took it and kind of brought it into their brand and, you know, did some work on it on their own. And now they have launched it as a WW product. And at its core, the app is a food tracking app. So kids go in, they can track their food, and it uses a stoplight system, a traffic light system. So foods are categorized as either being a red food, a yellow food, or a green food. And as you can guess, the green foods are the good foods. The yellow foods are like, stop, proceed with caution, I guess, and then the red foods are the bad foods. And so it uses this system where kids can go in and they track their food, and every food is classified in one of these three categories, and then kids have limits on how many red foods they can have per day and how many red foods they can have per week. And then children can also track their weight in the app, that sort of thing. So that's kind of the very essential element of what the app is. So that's the basics, but there's a lot of other stuff going on in the app, and we're going to talk about all of that now because it's time to talk about why this app is dangerous. And let me be clear, the core features are a problem on their own, but on top of that, there's a lot of other stuff happening. So first off, when you get into the app, one thing that the child does is select their motivation for wanting to lose weight or, quote, get healthier. So when you go in there, there's lots of different options. One of the options that a child can select as being their motivation is make my parents happy. So right off from the get-go, when you get in there, there's already this glaring like red flag of like, what is going on here? Because that very clearly sends a message that your appearance or your weight dictates how much your parents care about you, or if you are a certain size or a certain shape or a certain weight, then your parents won't be happy, or that you need to change yourself to be accepted by your parents or to please your parents or to maybe even be loved by your parents. So that right there is a big problem. Then as you get into the app more, there are lots of, extra features. There are videos that show you like tips for using the app, kind of basic tutorials, but also tips for succeeding on the diet. There's lots of problems baked into those, kind of woven throughout. There's also a game option, and the game is really designed to teach children the rules of the diet. So a child goes through and there will be 2 foods on the screen, and it'll be like, pick up the red food with your fork, or select the green food, or erase the yellow food, or whatever, and kids can go through. And I have to tell you, when I was going through this and doing some of these games, I could not figure out which foods were which. Like, I guess I need some training on this diet, because apparently it's not obvious even to a dietitian who has problems with this structure to know which foods would even be categorized in which category. So there's lots of things like that. Some of the foods that are categorized as red foods are things like peanut butter, hummus, chia seeds, what was another one? Cashews were categorized as red. There are a lot of very nutritious foods that are categorized as red foods. So that was alarming to me from the beginning. I mean, the whole traffic light system has its own problems, categorizing foods as good and bad and setting up that kind of hierarchy and all that kind of stuff. Not a healthy way to think about food at all. But on top of that, very nutritious foods that I would encourage families and kids to include as a part of a healthy eating pattern are on the red list. So by just packing kind of like a very standard day of healthy eating into the different, breakfast, lunch, dinner, and going through that, I was hitting my reds every single day when I was putting in these days of eating, and many times going over. And that was without including things like desserts, which are perfectly fine to have in your life. So that is another element, just like how restrictive it is. It seems to definitely gear towards a very like low calorie, low fat, because it's a weight loss diet, right? So there's that. Another thing about the game is sometimes, when you play, there's like a graphic like, yay, you got a new high score on level 2 or whatever. One of the graphics that I saw when I was using the app was a raisin running on a hamster wheel with a carrot dangling in front of its face. You can't make this stuff up. When it doesn't sound real. When I was telling some of this stuff to my husband, Jason, he was like, this sounds like a parody. Like, how can this be a real thing that real people have made and put out there? All of the messaging just baked into that one image of that exercise is like a punishment or something you have to do to pay for eating or to do to earn food. Very, very, very unhealthy. And that's just in one graphic that pops up in one aspect, the game aspect of the app. There are also a lot of articles and like videos with tips and exercise ideas and like nutrition tips and all kinds of things. So those are happening, and some of them are less harmful than others. It's kind of a mixed bag there. And then there are also success stories from children in the app with before and after pictures of children that say things like, Emily, age 9, lost 5 pounds. And then you can like read about her success story. And they're just like every other thing on that page where you're seeing like the game and the videos and the articles and the recipes, like those success stories are rapid fire throughout that whole thing. They're a main component of that part of the app. And so you see them all the time. Another thing that I found really troubling is that there is a week-long view in the app where you can see your reds for each day, as well as that total number for the week that you're allotted by the app. And then at the bottom, there's like a little dialogue box that says like, you have 13 more reds this week, like kind of like plan accordingly. So in the app, in that feature, but also in various articles throughout the app and like tips, there is this idea promoted that you should like save your reds or budget your reds for another time. So this is very clearly promoting a restrict and then binge dynamic. Restrict these foods during this period so you can have them for this future time. And kind of like that one day of eating should directly impact the next day of eating. And it's, again, one of these things that is unhealthy for anyone, but when we're especially talking about children, it's really troubling. And there's things like, if you go to a pizza party, like bring a snack that you can eat, or try to eat the other foods first, or, save up your reds so you can have cake or whatever. It's really, really an unhealthy mindset, an unhealthy way to think about food, and something when I'm working with adults, a way of thinking that I'm trying to help a lot of adults undo from their years of dieting. And then we're going to be coming in and planting these seeds in the brains of impressionable young children. It's really scary. And this is probably a good time to talk about why dieting is not a good idea, especially for children, because I know a lot of people just don't know this kind of stuff because it's not what they do, and especially because dieting and diet culture is so baked into our culture at large. A lot of these things that are really unhealthy behaviors or unhealthy ways to think about food are often praised in our culture. So a lot of people think that they're good things to do, that they're health promoting, when really they're not. So first up, kids should not be put on diets, period. The American Academy of Pediatrics says this. They have a whole clinical report on this where they kind of go through the recommendations and things to think about and how to talk about healthy eating and all of this kind of stuff with children and with their parents. And, dieting for kids can have a lot of negative health impacts. So it can lead to weight cycling and weight gain in the future. It can lead to binge eating. It can lead to eating disorders. And there's a lot of other impacts it can have too. Because if you think about this time period, I actually don't even think I mentioned this. This app is they say, WW says this app is for ages 8 to 17. So not only are we targeting very young and impressionable children, but we're also targeting them at a time when their body is changing a lot. They're going through puberty. They're going from the body of a child to the body of an adult. There's a lot of hormonal things happening. There's a lot of growth and development happening. This is a time when they should be gaining weight and growing a lot. And the way their bodies looks is going to change as well. And so during this time of normal growth and development, when children should be gaining weight, when their bodies are going to start to take on a different shape, to be promoting diets to them is, I think, really twisted, because you're taking a time when we can expect that they might have some confusion or discomfort with what's happening with their body. That's a normal part of puberty, plus all of the emotional and social things that are going on too, anxieties and trying to fit in and figuring out who you are. And then to take that and put dieting in there as a solution, I hope that it can be clear to a lot of people how this could be dangerous and lead to a lot of problems. Also, this is because it's a time of growth, it's important for children to be getting the nutrition they need. I mean, of course, that's important for anyone at any time, but especially during this time when children are growing, there's so much happening that's going to impact them going forward, so much development that's happening, and especially when we're thinking about bone health, there's a lot of stuff going on with the bones and their growth and development that are going to impact bone health for the rest of that child's life. And so to be limiting foods or restricting access to foods is really, really troubling, especially during that time of life. Also, we know that during this time, often children gain in weight before they gain in height. And so again, it's a normal part of development, but it can easily be positioned as being a problem by this app and by an app that's focusing on weight loss for children. And so this normal growth process of gaining weight and then gaining height, which is so common, can be made out to be a bad thing or a thing that needs to be fixed. A lot of this also comes down to the way we think about health. This app sends the message that is prevalent throughout our culture that weight and weight loss are equal to being healthy and that they're the same thing, when they really aren't. Losing weight does not make someone healthy, and it does not make the behaviors that resulted in that weight loss automatically healthy. Yes, there may be instances where if someone is eating an overall not very healthy diet and then they start to eat healthier, that they may lose weight as kind of a consequence of the healthy habits, but the weight loss isn't the thing to be focusing on. It's the healthy habits, and the healthy habits are important no matter anyone's size. We have size diversity. We have people of all shapes and sizes within the human species, right? And so to take and make weight loss the goal, all it does is it makes it so that healthy habits are thought of as something you only do to lose weight. So if you're thin and you fit into kind of the social ideal, then you don't need to do it. And if you're fat and you don't do it, then there's something wrong with you and you should take care of that. And also it makes it so that you can justify any behavior that results in weight loss as being healthy. That's a common thing I hear adults say to me when I'm out and about. They'll ask me about some sort of like very restricted diet or something, and I'll say, well, you know, I don't really promote that because X, Y, Z, here are the problems it could cause for your health. And they're like, well, I've lost 30 pounds. And that's kind of it. And sometimes, depending on the person, we're able to, you know, kind of dig into that a little bit more. But that's the mindset that a lot of people have because of our broader culture, that if it makes me lose weight, then it's a healthy and good thing to do. And that's a part of what's happening in this app. Another thing that bothers me about this whole thing is how WW tries to kind of position themselves in the way they promote this app. So it's a weight loss app that's targeted at children and it's unhealthy. But they promote it like they are here to help us in the videos and on the website. You know, they say like, we know there's a problem and like families need help and we're here to help you get healthy and like get healthy as a family and all of this kind of stuff. That's build healthy habits. That's how they try to market it, and like they're doing us some service when really they're promoting a product that can do a lot of damage to a lot of real people. And you know, it's troubling because it would be one thing if they were like, yeah, like we're a business and this is part of our business and like we're just trying to get kids in to keep our business going, which of course they would never say, but is absolutely what's happening here. I mean, they tried to do this a year ago. A year ago, they had a promotion for teenagers where they could come to Weight Watchers for free for the summer with their parent. And people lost their minds. People, I was one of them. I made videos about it. You can go watch them. People, there was a big outcry saying like, what are you doing? Like, keep your diets away from our kids. And you would think that if they actually did care about people and children, they might listen to that and be like, oh no. But what do? They come back a year later and it's like full steam ahead. And oh, guess what? Now, instead of just coming to Weight Watchers for free, it's an app and it's for even younger children. And so it makes you think like either they are incredibly ignorant and have absolutely no idea what they are doing, which is a problem because you would think that they would work with the people, like if they actually cared, that do this kind of stuff and that could help them and be like, yo, this is not a good thing. So it's either that or it's that they know and they don't care because it's to benefit their business. And getting people into this kind of cycle right now at a young age is just going to set them up to be Weight Watchers customers or WW customers for the rest of their lives. I mean, that's how their business model works, right? It's not about people getting success, whatever that is, and then moving on. Their business model works because they keep churning people through it over and over again. People do Weight Watchers, they lose weight, then they gain weight again because of the natural, physiological, biological changes that happen when you engage in intentional weight loss. Their bodies push back, their weight comes back up, then they feel like it was their fault, not knowing that's actually the diet that's the problem, and they go right back to Weight Watchers. And they do it again and again and again and again, and they just keep giving them their money and their money and their money for the long term. That's how their whole business works. So now they're just trying to get people in a little bit earlier so they can do this diet thing and be with Weight Watchers for potentially the rest of their lives. And the other thing that worries me about that is how this app will be perceived going forward, because it is very easy for them to get rid of or change some of these glaringly obvious things, like the make my parents happy motivation, or the raisin on the hamster wheel with the carrot in front of its face. Like, those are easy things to just like, oop, get that graphic out of here, oop, get those words out of here, and look, we fixed it. It's not a problem anymore. We listened to you. And to kind of go on that whole angle of things. But you have to remember that it's not that stuff, it's a problem. Those are the things that are like, how did this get through real human people who were looking at this and no one said, hey guys, maybe we should get that out of there. It seems like it's not a great idea. But the core features of the app are still a problem. Putting kids on diets, categorizing foods as good foods and bad foods and all that kind of things, promoting weight loss in children, especially children that are going through a rapid period of growth. Those are problems in and of themselves, and that is the main focus, the main features, the core of how the app functions and what its purpose is. And I mean, this gets into WW and their brand overall and how they promote themselves. Just the name change from Weight Watchers to WW is to say, like, we're not about weight, we're about health. And they have all of this messaging like on all their social media channels that's like, feel great being who you are, feel good in your skin, like take care of yourself, love yourself the way you are, all of this kind of stuff that is supposed to communicate like a non-diet message, because they know that diets are falling out of favor. They know that intentional weight loss types of things are, you know, people are kind of getting around to this idea that these things usually, typically for most people, don't actually result in real sustained weight loss for the long term, first off, which is what they're supposed to do. But second off, that they're not good for us. They're not good for our health, even though they're positioned as being the healthy thing to do. So as people are coming around to this and realizing like, oh, this dieting thing, not a good idea, not something I want to do. Weight Watchers is trying to be like, oh, that's not a thing people want to do anymore. Well, we're not that. Look, we're not that. Love yourself. Like, but when you get into what they're doing, it's still a weight loss diet, but they just try to wrap it in this pretty like non-diet packaging to be like, look, we changed, come back. You know, we used to be Weight Watchers, but now we're different. And even if you tried us before, come back because it's going to be different and we think you'll really like us. Like, that's their whole marketing thing, is pretending not to be a diet when they are a diet. So it's really concerning to me because it's easy for someone to see the thing that's really extreme and be like, oh yeah, that's definitely a diet. But when you have these things that are kind of like sneaky diets where they're like, we're not a diet, but really they are, that's really troubling, because for the people who don't want to be doing diets but still maybe have concerns about their health or maybe have concerns about their weight, they get pulled in to that kind of like, this is not a diet thing, even when that is really what it is. And we haven't even gotten into the whole aspect that they have paid coaching that you can buy for your child. I don't know how long this video is getting, probably pretty long, but that's a thing. So the app is free, but you can get paid coaching from people who have training. It's, there are people that can coach your child, but they are not pediatricians or dietitians or therapists or anyone who might work with children and eating or body image or their health or whatever. No, they're just people that have experience working with children, whatever that means, come from like a diverse array of backgrounds and have been trained by the Kurbo team. And that's their qualification. So if you do want to give Weight Watchers your money now instead of when you're an adult, if you don't just want the free app, if you want to pay for something, then you can do that. And honestly, I don't know what's worse, if a kid is getting this thing on their own and doing it, or if they're being encouraged to do it by a parent or now a paid coach to do this stuff. I mean, both options sound equally terrible in a little bit different ways. Oh, and here's one of my favorite parts. I've got a screenshot here pulled up on my phone. When they were asked about like not having health professionals being a part of this app and being the coaches, they said, if we want to live our purpose of making wellness accessible to all and doing it outside of an academic medical center, we're not going to be able to hire pediatricians, dietitians, exercise physiologists, and psychologists. What we do well is take science and scale it, measure the impact to make sure we're living up to our purpose. Seriously. It's just such a like, just this way to dismiss the fact or justify the fact that, oh, we don't have actual trained professionals that do this to help your kid. We just got some randos that we trained, who knows what that involves, trained by the people who created this app, which has all of these problems, some glaringly obvious, some less so, unless you are an expert in this field. Like, we trained them. Like, does that give you confidence? Like, the people who created this thing that has all these issues, we train these people who are not qualified to do this kind of work to help your kid. And I know I'm getting a little sassy now and I'm getting a little fired up, but this whole thing makes me so angry because the whole dieting industry and all that stuff, that alone is a big problem and something that upsets me in a lot of ways. But when they start coming for our kids and then trying to promote it as them helping us, like they are doing us some great service or some great charity, that makes me really angry because not only are they targeting children, but they're also targeting parents who are confused or worried or scared and don't know what to do and really want to help their kid. And then they're giving them this thing that can do real damage. So we've talked about all these problems. Let's talk about some solutions, because I know if you're a parent and you're in this position where you have these real concerns and you've just listened to me rant and rave about this app and why it's a huge problem for who knows how long now, you might be thinking, okay, like I get it, it's bad, but what am I supposed to do? The answer is there is something else you can do. It's not just this app or nothing. And a lot of the articles and stuff I've seen written by other dietitians and other health professionals, just other people who work in this area, a lot of the comments are from people that are like, well, we do have a problem with like children not eating well, and you know, what are we gonna do about that? This app can help with that. And so there's definitely an idea, one, that a lot of the stuff in this app is healthy, but two, that, well, we have a problem, we gotta do something, so let's just do this. But there's other stuff. So the first thing is just in how you model behavior, how you're modeling healthy eating behaviors and healthy thoughts and ideas around food and around body and body image, the way you talk about yourself and your own body, the way you talk about your child's body, the way you talk about the bodies of other people around you, the way you talk about food, you know, not categorizing them as good or bad and that sort of thing, but also just like what you're doing day in and day out. The kind of food you're having, the way your meals are structured, also other healthy behaviors like physical activity and sleep and stress management and screen time. All of those things, just modeling that for your child and setting that example is really, really important and has a really big impact. The other thing that you can do is provide a structure that children can work within. And a good way to do this is called the division of responsibility. It's an idea that was coined by a dietitian named Ellen Satter, and I'll link her stuff as well because there's a lot of good information on her website and in her resources that you can find. And I'll link a bunch of other books and stuff you can read too. There's a ton. But it's this idea of parents deciding what, when, and where we're going to eat, and then the children deciding whether and how much they're going to eat at that meal. So as a parent, you're providing the structure of giving this balanced meal with several different options. This is the eating time. We're having a meal right now, and we're having it here at the dinner table together as a family. And then from what is offered, so it's not free for all, anything that's in the house or around the block, from what's offered at that meal, the child gets to select what they want to eat, how much they want to eat, if they want to eat. And so that allows them to honor their own hunger and fullness, but also honor the fact that, you know, some of the foods on the table may be very familiar to them and very comfortable, and some foods may be new and they might need a little bit more time to explore those foods and become familiar with those foods before they can really like them. And just overall remembering that eating is this developmental process, learning about food. This is a part of growing. And so part of raising your kid is teaching them about food, and it's something that's going to happen over time as they get older. None of us, in most cases, really love a food the first time we try it. If it's something totally new, and it's, as an adult, it can be hard to remember things like this, but I always tell people, think about a time when maybe you've tried a food from a cuisine that's different from your native cuisine, and you know, when you've tried that new food, What was your experience like? Did you love it right away and it was your new favorite food and you wanted like second helpings? Probably not if it was something very different from what you normally eat, because you got to kind of get used to the flavor or the texture or these two different flavors paired together that I'm not really used to having. And you might have to have it several times before you really start to warm up to it and start to like it. So just remembering that about kids and having a lot of compassion for that and understanding where they are and kind of putting yourselves in their shoes and understanding that it takes time, and it's not like they're gonna love every new food they try right when they try it, but it's about the consistency and the structure over and over and over again of having these consistent family meals that's gonna set them up so that when they are an adult, they'll have this stuff in place, they'll have learned these healthy habits, they'll have been exposed to and become familiar with a lot of different foods, and will feel comfortable with that. Another thing is making food fun and enjoyable. So involving kids in the cooking process, maybe growing food too, that can be a great way to involve kids with food and help teach them about food and make it fun. And you don't have to have a ton of space to grow food. You can have just a simple potted plant on your balcony, grow a tomato, or grow some fresh herbs on your windowsill. Those are great things that you can do even when you don't have a lot of space, and they are really good for having some yummy meals too. And also just creating an enjoyable, pleasant environment around food. Really making food fun, not making food like a chore or something that can become a fight or something like that, or making food something to be ashamed about or feel guilty about. Just making it fun and enjoyable and celebrating all foods is really, really important. And if you do have concerns that you feel like you need more help with, that's when you need to go to your pediatrician, go to a dietitian, maybe seek out a specialist from your pediatrician if you're thinking there's some other things going on, like maybe an allergy or a GI issue that's affecting your child's eating, or some sort of developmental issue and they need to see like a speech language pathologist that specializes in child feeding, or there can be so many different other things that go on that can affect our eating. So talking to your pediatrician and then potentially other health professionals that can help you with your specific concern in your specific situation is highly recommended and can make a huge difference. Whew, okay, so now that I have talked a lot about this, and trust me, I have so much more to say. This has been like the main topic of my conversations with anyone I see for the past 2 weeks or so. So there's a lot more we could get into. I want to hear what you have to say about it. Let me know in the comments. Let me know what you're thinking. If you had already heard about this, just thoughts you have about the app, but also other questions you have. Because like I said, there's so many layers to this. There's so many different things to talk about. And that means there's also a lot of things that you might have questions about. And I can make more videos. We can keep going with this. I just want this to be the start of a conversation. And please, please, if you think that other people around you, if this could be helpful to them, share this video. I think that, this is something that is really important to me. It's a discussion I think we need to be having as a culture at large. And I think that a lot of people may be seeing this app as something that could help them. And I really think this is an important message to get out there. So if you agree, share this video and let other people know, because we need to be talking about this, all of us together. Okay, so let me know what you think. And if you happen to be new here and you want more healthy eating tips and nutrition info and videos like this one, then make sure that you subscribe, because eating healthy and living a healthy lifestyle really doesn't have to be complicated, and I want to show you how to do it. And if you want to watch some more videos, I have a couple linked over here that you might like. Thanks for watching. I hope you're having a great day, and I'll talk to you next time.